welcome everyone to this episode of MITPod, Manchester Indie Theatre Podcast. You are here with me, Caroline.
And Amelia.
And we also have a fantastic guest on. We have Natalie Patuzzo, who is a clown extraordinaire, director, performer. We'll get a bit deeper into Natalie's back catalogue very, very soon, and the things that she's got up and coming, because they're very exciting. But for now, we're going to talk about what's been going on, what we're excited about, all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I know that the Angry Brigade...
I went to go and see it, actually. I saw the Angry Brigade at 53-2 the other week. I know that they came back again at the start. They did a run at the start of April.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're going on to the Bolton Octagon on the 1st and 2nd of May.
Amazing.
And then the Cockpit Theatre in London after that.
It's a huge tour.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I feel like loads of stuff is springboarding off into different regions, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
The lovely Natalie Beach has Bears coming to Contact Theatre from the 6th to the 16th of May. And we actually have a little message from Natalie that we're going to play for you right now. So here's Natalie to tell you a bit more about what's coming up, what you can expect from Bears.
Bears was inspired by a real-life survey that was done asking women whether or not they would rather be alone in a forest with a bear or a man. And the women chose bears. The play, I guess, is a dark comedy exploring the kind of things that women are thinking about when making that decision. It looks at power dynamics within relationships, nature versus nurture, what it means to be a feminist. It's got horror, comedy, performance art, and a lot of bear stories. This is its world premiere. It's produced by Divided Culture and directed by the brilliant Connor Goodwin. I'd love for your listeners to come along, and I hope to see you there.
We also have 12th Night by Her Productions coming up as well.
Oh, that's brilliant,
in June.
So there's a bit of a run up to that.
Yeah, so we're excited for that. Again, that'll be going to Hope Mill Theatre in Manchester on the 24th, and then the 24th of June, and then on to the Haywood Civic and Lawrence Batley Theatre.
Absolutely. And by the way, you will see links to all of these events and all of these companies down in the description below the podcast. So check it out, check all the websites out, check all of the social handles out. That's everything to do a shout out for that's on at the moment. But I've heard really great reviews of the Angry Brigade. So if you get a chance to head to Bolton or London, if you're lucky enough to head down to London.
You have friends in London, you go in there, go to the Cockpit.
So it's all go. I think that things are really, really ramping up. And of course, we've got the Greater Manchester Fringe coming this July. Yeah. So if you have anything coming to the Fringe, then please get in touch. We want to hear about it. We want to give it a shout out. But speaking of, I know that our lovely guest, Natalie Patuzzo, has an event that is coming to the Greater Manchester Fringe before it sort of rockets off to the Edinburgh Fringe. I think it would be about time now to introduce
our special guest.
Our second special guest.
So we have Natalie with us today. Natalie is an award-winning clown and director with training from École Philippe Gaulier, École Jacques Lecoq, Hamu and Rose Bruford College. Based in South Manchester, she teaches clowning workshops for Impro Quo and is the host of Village Idiots Alternative Comedy Night at Fairfield Social Club. She is also debuting her new solo show, Every Single Sound in the World, at festivals this year.
Yes, and I was very, very lucky to see one of the Village Idiots events, which I absolutely loved. I think it's a really wonderful platform and such a range as well of styles and a range of performances. But we'd love to chat to you, Natalie, about everything you've got coming up.
So. Yeah, it sounds like you've been busy. We've been keeping an eye on the socials, see that you've been very active on there. And I'm really excited to hear more about clowning. It'd be great to hear more about, your thoughts on that and your experiences.
You did have your fantastic Bog Off Clowns event at the King's Arms. And so the next event for you is going to be the Fringe, isn't it?
Yeah. Hello, thanks for having me, guys. It's quite a scary but exciting time at the moment. Bog Off Clowns was a preview show, and my friend Ollie was part of a double bill as well. So it was 2 clown shows in one night, just to kind of test material before we take it out to festivals and we say, here's the shows. So it's a really it's so stressful, but it's really exciting.
Well, I mean, you're preparing for 2 Fringe events, which is crazy.
Free.
3?
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking it to Brighton Fringe, Manchester Fringe, and then it's going to go to Edinburgh. And I'm also trying to book in a London date at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's
a lot. But...
Well, we talked a little bit before about, you know, how much work goes into a solo show, especially when you're a one-man band and you're putting on all your own work. You are wearing all the hats. So I can imagine that it's been a lot in terms of organising all of that.
I'm producing, I'm performing, I'm kind of my own director. Would recommend if you're ever making a solo show yourself, try not to do it by yourself because it is a lot of work, and especially in rehearsal rooms, just get people in to watch you because otherwise it is a little bit insane, but also fly your freak flag, be a bit silly, no one's watching you. So
absolutely,
yeah.
I think that was something we sort of agreed on, was that if you can get help in, please do.
Yeah.
Because
oh my god,
so heavy going, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is, because you know, you there's one thing getting up on the stage and performing it, and you've been the one that's created this, you devised it, you've written it, and then you know you've got all that you're thinking about, but then on top of it you're doing all of the producing and everything. So yeah, massive respect to you for navigating 3 fringes.
God, I mean, it feels like it's way more hours than a first job, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's so exciting. It would be great to hear a bit more about sort of how you got into this line of performance, this line of creative work, and just a bit more about you, if you're happy to share.
Yeah, sure. So, I went to drama school. I went to Rose Bruford, obviously, as you mentioned. But I did a course called European Theatre Arts, which is a performance course. So it's a little bit acting, but it's a little bit different as well. And I got to go on an Erasmus, which is like a study abroad to Prague. And I was kind of sent there. It was a little bit my choice, but it was also my tutor kind of going, this is the school you need to go to, because we all got sent to different schools in different countries in Europe. And at the time I was like, why this school? And he sent me somewhere that specialised in non-verbal theatre. So I was learning mime, I was learning dance, I was learning circus skills, I was climbing the silks, like what the hell am I doing? But I was also learning clowning, and it had never occurred to me before, like I never thought of myself as a funny person, like it was just never something that crossed my mind to do anything like that. But the joy of doing clowning is like, you get to fail, and that's kind of the point. And I was like, oh, people are laughing, and actually this is really nice, and I was having a great time, and I was like, okay, this is actually going somewhere, and I just absolutely fell in love with it, and it's just all I've kind of wanted to do since then. So yeah, that's been my route in.
That's so exciting. Could you run me through a bit of that experience, like in terms of miming and clowning? Like, when you first started doing that, did you feel a bit nervous? How did you kind of grow, I guess, from when you started that journey to now?
You kind of get thrown in the deep end, because it is literally get in front of the rest of the class and see if you can make us laugh. Like, nobody wants to do that. Yeah. And when you don't make people laugh, you're like, oh, I need to just go in a little hole. I'm not good at this at all. I really hated clowning the first class I did.
It's terrifying. Yeah, it feels like a lot of pressure.
Exactly.
Which is, you know, there's one thing getting up and performing and like without an expectation of like, you know, what the audience is going to react like. But when you going in thinking, I really, you know, I want this, it's a success if people laugh, and it's not if they don't. It's just like, that's a lot of stress.
It feels quite cutthroat, because it's like, yeah, like if you do a scene, you can almost, even if it's bad, you can kind of in your head maybe be like, maybe they liked it and they just got serious faces. But if you're clowning, you know if it's working or not based on if they're laughing. Yeah.
I mean, in our pilot, we talked about testing, which is that regular event that comes to 53.2, where comedians often come and do like try out their new material in front of an audience. And we were sort of talking about the bravery it takes to bring something out for the first time and then see if it works. And then instead of getting all crestfallen if it doesn't, kind of going, why doesn't this work? Do I abandon it? Do I work on it more? But it does sound like a real discipline in just how you treat yourself as well as how you treat your material.
Yeah, I think it's made me change my approach to failure, because it's like, that's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
Like, and so then you start to kind of see failures in life a bit differently. I don't know how to fully explain it until you've kind of experienced it, and you kind of go, actually, it's okay, and actually there can be some silver lining to this cloud, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really cool. I think that there's in a lot of art forms and creative forms, there are philosophies you can take away into your real life, maybe more so than in other lines of work, because it is so personal, isn't it? And you like to pretend it's not, and you like to let it roll off your back. But, I feel like criticisms and failures do hurt until you find ways of sort of redirecting them.
I think it's a big thing for any performer as well to come face to face with that failure and because it is a big risk, when you're trying new material and you're putting yourself out there, it does take a lot to do that. And, especially when that material, you've never shown that to anybody before, you don't know how it's going to be received, but it is the only way to kind of get anything made is you have to take that chance. And I think we touched on it last time, but I do think there's a lot of bravery in that, and I love new writing nights. I love improvisational nights. I just think there's something to be said for, performers and artists that put themselves out there and they do take that chance and to try something new. And that is how all great pieces of theatre and comedy and anything comes about.
Absolutely.
Ultimately.
Yeah, and speaking of which, your Village Idiots event, which is just fantastic. Is it monthly? How often is it on?
It's every 2 months
Every
now.
2 months.
I tried to do it monthly, and then after the second month, I was like, oh, this is quite intense,
It's
isn't
a
it?
lot.
Whilst also trying to do my own show. So it's at Fairfield Social Club. Just keep an eye on the Fairfield Social Club website or on our Instagram, and you'll see our lineup announcements, and you'll see when the next shows are on.
Amazing. And what's the Instagram handle?
Village Idiots _comedy.
Wonderful. And we'll obviously link that as well in the description. But yeah, is there anything that you've seen on the Manchester indie scene recently, or either that's coming up that looks interesting, or something that you've seen that was really good? I have not seen anything for ages, so don't feel bad if there isn't anything you can think of.
Well, I think one of the good things about running a night is you do discover people, and even if I don't necessarily know what people exactly have coming up all the time, but I kind of go, okay, here's someone I didn't know about that I can keep an eye on.
Yeah.
So some people I've been really impressed with recently have been Zoe Cousins. She's also going to be taking some shows around, but she has an absolutely hilarious character called Paul Sykes.
I remember Paul. Oh my god, she absolutely blew the roof off last time. It was so funny.
Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. So she's someone that's worth following, keeping an eye on. Were you there when Lemon Pips was on as well? Laura Sharples?
I don't think so, no.
She might have been the second night, but she's a clown as well, which in Manchester we're a bit of a rarity. There's not many clowns.
I was gonna say, it's quite a niche sort of thing, and you guys maybe have quite a small knit community. But that's what I really like. I love it. I think it's so cool. I want to explore it more myself, to be honest. It just sounds really exciting. Maybe I should come along.
I was gonna say, I run a monthly clown jam, so if you want to come along and just see what it's like, you can come along. And
I guess there's
chill.
Getting comfortable with being silly and putting yourself out there. It's you know what, that'd be exciting. I think it's a challenge for yourself for sure.
Oh yeah, well, director Kitty Ball, who's a good mate of mine, said something in rehearsal recently about how she tries to encourage people to lose the cringe or lose the fear of cringe. And I just said to her, look, I'm 80% cringe. I don't know, there'd be none of me left if I lost the cringe. But I mean, that's the thing about comedy, is that you've got to lean into it. You've got to lean into the cringe.
You have to commit.
Yeah.
I guess that is the thing, isn't it? It's all about commitment. If you commit 100%, that I think translates.
100%.
Absolutely. And to be honest, 9 times out of 10, when you do commit 100%, the audience are more likely to go with you, even if they're not like, oh, this is the funniest thing I've seen in my life. They're kind of on your side and they want you to win. So even if that gag didn't work, they're ready for the next gag. They're like, okay, maybe this time.
I agree. I do think it's like they can smell fear or smell uncertainty.
Yeah.
And the second that you show that, I think that's the bit where you might lose people. It's not because of your material. It's more just how much do you believe in it? How much do you believe in yourself? And it is a tough one because it is such a, like I say, it's a scary thing. But I think when you're committed to it, that's all you can really do.
I think that believing and committing is really important. My chief line of creative work is writing, is script writing or playwriting. And, I was told when I was trained that if you don't believe in what you're writing and you don't care deeply about what you're writing and put so much of yourself into your writing, it's not going to come off. It's not going to come off the page. People are not going to they're not going to be interested in it, and they're not going to believe it themselves. And it's amazing how that translates across all areas of creativity. I think it needs to be important to you, and it needs to come from something that you believe in and are committed to.
Absolutely.
Do you have any like inspirations or favourite comedic performers or clowns that you like to talk about?
Absolutely. So, oh god, I absolutely love Natalie Patuzzo, who I know has a very similar name to me.
Yes.
But yeah, you can watch her on Netflix at the moment. So she's got a show on Netflix called Nate, which is kind of, it's like drag clown. She's playing this like hard nut. Like, I'm gonna try not to spoil too much of it, but she's, you know, drinking beer and kind of cracking it open. She's on a motorcycle. There's all this ridiculous stuff going on. But it also deals with like quite a serious issue, which is consent.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not going to spoil any more of it, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, and honestly, you'll be pissing yourself if you watch it. So if you've got Netflix, go and watch Nate, because I think she's just the most amazing performer. And she comes over to the UK regularly as well. So she did another show recently, which again was quite an interesting gender expression, because she was half man, half woman in that show, and it was this kind of piss take of rom-coms. So she's really interesting if you're interested in drag as well as clown and comedy.
Amazing.
That sounds really, really good. Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, that obviously touches on a lot of things that I'm really interested in, but also I love drag. I love, like, I've got a couple of mates who are drag kings. That sounds fantastic. Keen to look at it.
And what you were saying before as well, of how there was that, you know, underlying message, there was kind of a seriousness to it. I love pieces that strike that balance, I guess, between the comedy and, like, you know, the real serious core of it. I think if you know, when you watch a lot of great, you know, even shows like Fleabag, or, you know, like One Woman shows, or the TV series, I think she does strike a really great balance between comedy and drama. And she finds that way of kind of, you know, getting the audience to sort of relax into this, like, really kind of this laughter. And then when they're kind of disarmed, that's when she, like, hits them with, you know. And I think that some of the best pieces of theatre and that I've seen are definitely, like, you know, that they manage to strike that balance, like, so creatively and intelligently.
Absolutely. If people want to either be part of Village Idiots, or they want to be part of your clown jam, is there any kind of vetting process that they go through as well?
Yeah, so the clown jams, that's set up by Impro Quo. So I do post about them on my stories and my Instagram, but you can literally just go on the Impro Quo website. I think you click on play with us, because they've also got improv jams as well. And the clown jams are literally, I'm not there to tell you how to clown, I'm not there to give you feedback, I'm there to just go, here's a game we're playing, let's have fun and be silly. So there's no pressure. I'm not going to tell you off and be like, you're not funny. It's just a fun, silly couple of hours. And then Village Idiots, if you go onto our Instagram, I do have a form that you can fill in and just let me know who you are and how long a set you want to do and what dates you're free, and it all goes into a little spreadsheet. And I've got quite a long list at the moment, please don't be disheartened if I don't come straight back to you. But yeah, I'm working through the list and kind of getting in touch with people and being like, okay, are you free on this date? Cool.
That's exciting though, that you have, like, so many people reaching out.
It's really surprised me. Yeah.
Now, do we want to talk a bit more about Natalie's show and, like,
absolutely, yeah. At what point in the Fringe is it? Is it like a few days in July?
So I'm still kind of finalising details, so I don't have a final date yet. But keep an eye. I will post when it's all live. But yeah, it'll be sometime in July. Hopefully a weekend. See what we can get.
So when did this come about then? Your show, like, when did you first start creating it and putting it together?
Although this is my debut solo show, this is actually my third go at a solo show. When I was at Rose Bruford, I did a dissertation that was a clown show about nostalgia, and I was like, this is going to be my solo show, I'm going to make it. I graduated in 2019. COVID hit, and I kind of went, actually, I don't think I do want to take this into the world just yet, and so I sort of shelved that. And then after COVID, I was like, right, here I go, here's show number 2. And then I went to Philip Gollier, thanks to Arts Council DYCP, woohoo!
Oh, brilliant!
Which I can tell you guys more about that in a bit if you want.
Please, yeah.
But yeah, so went to Philip Gollier, and I went, oh no, I need to make this show completely differently now, because you just completely opened my eyes. So this is go number 3. And this one, I was just going to comedy clubs and was just being like, how can I make people laugh? So I just brought like a bucket of just random props and was like, I don't know, I'll like make that noise into the microphone and then try and recreate it with my mouth. And people laughed, and I was like, okay, cool, and like did it with some other stuff, and I was like, okay, maybe there's something in this, and I was making
very experimental.
Yeah, and I was making these wild claims of I'm gonna make every single sound in the world, I'm gonna do it in these 10 minutes kind of thing, and it's just kind of built from there. So I did it as a half-hour work in progress last year, which came to Manchester Fringe, and then now it's gonna be an hour show, and it's actually a thing,
That's
which
so
is crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a strong concept as well. I love that it hinges around these props and these sounds. I think that's going to be something.
It's a sensory experience.
Yeah. It's very audience interactive as well.
Cool.
So there will be the audience making sounds. Please don't be scared. Please don't be like, it's audience interaction. I'm not going to come to the show because I'm not going to make anyone do things that they don't want to do. But it's
just don't sit at the front row.
Yeah, it's just 9 times out of 10 I hand you a prop and then I just get you to wiggle some maracas or something. That's all it is. Oh, and I'm an alien in the show as well.
Of course.
I just got
Another
that
thing
in.
to just drop in, but that only came like a couple of months ago. Like for a while it was just me just doing it as me, and then someone was like, wouldn't it be fun if you're an alien? And I was like, yes.
I love how these things develop as well, because
Yeah.
I think that is like the core of like most Fringe pieces. Like it's seeing the journey that's gone through, and like, actually it's never set in stone. You can do it once, then another idea can come to you, and it just continues to sort of form and evolve, and that's really exciting. Like I love that, and like I'm excited to see.
Me too. It's going to be so exciting. I'm really looking forward to it, and I love the fact that there was like external influence where someone made a suggestion that I sometimes get blinkered and I get like blind spots, and someone goes, "What about this?" And you go, "Oh yeah, that's the idea of an alien." Like trying to make every single sound in the world is so fun. I love that.
I think it's so important to be talking to people all the time, because however many brains are so much better than one brain. Like someone will make a suggestion and you'll be like, oh god, yeah, that's a great idea, and you can
100%.
run with it, and even if it's not the idea that you go with, it might spark something else and you go, not that, but maybe this.
Yeah.
100%. I think it's invaluable, definitely, having other people's insights and thoughts and just where their brain goes to and kind of what they get from it, their takes on it. It can make you see something in a totally different light.
And sort of speaking of developing your work, you mentioned you're developing your creative practice funding and what you did with that. So do you want to go a bit more into that experience?
Yeah, I love talking about it because I'm like, everyone should get this experience. So Arts Council England is offering free money. It's free money for you to literally, as it says on the tin, develop your creative practice. Yes, there is a long form that you have to do to kind of be like, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to do at the moment, this is what I want to develop with it. But a really good tip is, if like me you're neurodivergent, the Arts Council will pay for someone to help you write your form, and usually they're really, really knowledgeable, and they'll be able to say, hey, you should put this in it, and they'll have conversations and kind of help you. So I'm just like, everyone should be applying for it. It's free money, guys.
Yeah.
It's just,
I just can't stress this enough.
can't stress enough. I went to Paris with this money and I learned clown. You should do it too. With whatever you want to do, whether you want to, I don't know, maybe you want to learn more about lighting. Okay, great. You can use that money to do a little training course, do a bit of mentorship, do some shadowing, and it'll pay for your hotel if you stay somewhere, and your travel and all of this stuff, and pay the wages of your mentors as well. So get on it. That's all I can say.
Such good advice, especially because a lot of people feel trapped financially. A lot of the time they're working multiple jobs, and they're just like, oh, I want to do this, but I just don't have the disposable income. I don't have the means. But there is access to that. There is support there potentially. That sounds great, and it sounds like you got so much out of it.
And the other thing I'll say as well is, a lot of people who have done DYCP, or people that have done other kinds of Arts Council funding or other things, if you say, hey, I'm so sorry, like, would you mind just telling me a bit about your experience and what you did, they're usually quite game to help. So it is worth just reaching out to people. If you know someone that's had a DYCP grant, you can just ask them about it, and obviously don't take the piss and take loads of people's time, but people want to help other people. So yeah, definitely reach out and see if someone will help you.
I think it's a really supportive network all around the Manchester indie scene anyway, whether in comedy, in drama, theatre, in dance, in
whatever
music,
your discipline.
Whatever your discipline, there's always someone who will be willing to
they have a suggestion,
share
they
their
have
advice,
their own experience, because, you know, I think, well, we are all in this together ultimately, and I think a lot of people have had challenges in terms of funding. We know about that, you know, and I think they end up learning from their own, either things they've done that hasn't quite worked for them, or, you know, through other people. And I think they always want to, I know that when I've spoken to people, they've always given me advice. I think people are very willing to share that information because, you know, ultimately everyone wants to see people succeed and help everybody understand the avenues that are available, because that can be quite difficult as well. But I do think, you know, it can still be quite daunting to sit down and think, what can I do actually to make this happen? What are the options available to me?
Absolutely. I mean, when I came to Manchester back in 2013, I just didn't know where to go or what to do, and I kind of want to be the person that I didn't have back then. And I think that's something that all creatives should consider, is sort of what were they like when they first sort of hatched, and what do they need? What did they need then, and what can they offer now? So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We learn so much from the people that we're around. You know, I'm so inspired by, you know, I was inspired by you, Natalie, inspired by you, Caroline, like everyone I know, you know, their own discipline. We're all trying stuff out ultimately. No one really has the answer, but it is just giving things a go, trying something, like what worked last time, what didn't work last time, and ultimately we just go again, don't we?
Yeah, truly.
So I think at this point, I'd be keen to just do a little run back through the what's on, what's coming up, any other suggestions we've got, and then I think it's getting to time that we should start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Which is great, because it's so hot in here.
Yeah. So quick.
So just to run through it again, from the 6th to the 16th of May, we've got Bears, Bears, Bears by Natalie Beach at Contact Theatre, and that's produced by Divided Culture. And then we've got The Angry Brigade, which has already been on in Manchester, but it's heading to the Bolton Octagon on the 1st and 2nd of May. Then it's going to the Cockpit Theatre in London on the 12th to the 16th. And then we've got 12th Night, her productions, which opens actually at the Dukes in Lancaster on the 19th of June. Then it heads to Hope Mill Theatre on the 24th of June. And then on to Hayward Civic and the Lawrence Batley Theatre, which is in Huddersfield. So that's our top picks for what's coming up. And then also further down the line, you need to look out at the Manchester Fringe events for Natalie Patuzzo's show Every Sound in the World. It's like
every single sound in the world.
Every single sound in the world. And then obviously that's on to Edinburgh and Brighton. Okay, so I don't know how to wrap it up, because I feel like I want to give Natalie a bit of a last word.
Yeah. Have you got any final thoughts, Natalie?
Oh gosh.
That's a bit on the spot, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
What is your favourite aspect of being a creative in Manchester right now?
Great question. I think, the fact that there is like community forming, like things like this podcast exists. Like, I think there are like WhatsApp groups that are starting to pop up. I know there's a Manchester directors group that's recently popped up. I also run a WhatsApp group called Northern Clown Network. So if you are interested in clowning in the north, whether you're based in Manchester or Sheffield or Liverpool or even Newcastle, you can also join that. I can send you guys the link for that as well.
Please do, that'd be great.
But yeah, I feel like people are really trying to connect with each other, because we're all like, do you know what? London's doing its thing, but actually there's really cool theatre up here. So
there's so much
help
going on
each
up
other.
here.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things about Manchester is that we're able to be maybe a little bit more diverse and a bit more niche, because we're not known as like the main hub of the serious theatre. We're known as kind of like the cool experimental
younger brother.
Yeah. exactly. So I fully agree. I think that's really a really good insight.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks guys for having me on. I think this is such a cool idea. Like the fact that you've got this podcast out, I think is amazing. I was so excited when I saw about it. So yeah, keep it up.
We are so excited. Well, we said when we did our pilot episode, you know, Caroline and I, it was just us, and we just had this idea for, you know, this would be a great space to just bring all the creatives on that we know, or creatives that we will get to know, just to talk about what it is that they're doing, because everyone is super talented, super disciplined, and everybody's just doing so much.
Yeah, all the time.
And you never know what's going to come from it. So, and I think it might seem, you know, a scary thing if you're kind of at the very beginning of that journey, but I think it is an incredible space, Manchester, to bring that work out. And
definitely, absolutely. And if you have anything that you're currently working on, or if you have any questions that you want to send into the podcast, either for a guest to answer or for us to answer, if you have any opportunities available, if there's someone you want to work with, if you've got a show on, anything like that, email mitpoddy@gmail.com. That's mitpoddy@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram on @mit_pod. We're keen to get listener questions on. You can send in a little voice note, and if we like it, we might play it. If it's short
and appropriate,
and just engage with us everywhere. Please like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, follow it. We're on YouTube and we are on Spotify. So my Instagram, my theatre company's Instagram is @DTKMank. Do we want to drop our handles as well again, just for this last bit?
It's the easiest one to remember, guys. It's just Amelia Slater.
Is it Amelia R. Slater?
Amelia R. Slater.
Yeah, with an R in the middle. And then Natalie again, would you like to repeat?
Yeah, so mine is just my name, @Natalie Patuzzo, and Patuzzo is spelled PATUZZO.
And you've also got one for Village Idiots, don't you?
Village Idiots _comedy.
Fantastic. And it's been absolutely great to have you on, Natalie. It's so exciting to hear everything you're working on. I hope you get time for some downtime and some rest.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Please have a rest if you can.
I'll try.
No, but we're very excited for you, and honestly wishing you all the best with this, all the success. I'm sure it's going to be huge, and definitely go and check out Natalie's show at the Fringes.
Every single sound in the world.
Every single sound in the world. Just look it up.
Don't forget it.
But I think that's it. I think that's time for us to wrap up. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.